Hi, I'm Selena. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you some great recommendations for the summer months. I've grouped this into 3 different aspects of summer based on the books I picked. I sort of did this with spring as well. I have a spring recommendations video that I will let you check out. The first category is hot or watery settings. We'll get into that in a minute. Fun and action-packed adventurous books, like edge of your seat type of books, or late summer gothic dread type of books. Getting into this, I think things will make more sense as we get going, but the first section, the hot or watery settings, the first couple are some high fantasies that I thought were really great for this. The first one is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I actually read this last summer and it was kind of perfect because there's a lot of like tension. Like, look at this. Doesn't this just look like a fiery type of book and setting and stuff? So it's not only, it's like there's a lot of like tension in this book, like political tension or tension between characters, and I just feel like a hot, like muggy setting really ties into that. And then also I'm pretty sure it's based off of India, and India is a pretty warm place. So yeah. And then also the plants growing all over this place makes it very summery for me, and there's a lot of tension with the plants because they're part of this disease thing. I'm not doing a very good job at describing this. Another reason why I think you should give this book a go in the summer is because the sequel comes out in August. So if you read this, you can catch up, be all ready for the second in the trilogy. But what is this about? It's about basically this princess who's locked away in a tower, and her maidservant kind of helping, who is there for her own reasons, but their goals sort of align, and they align in trying to get Malini, our princess, out of the tower. So you see them working together, the tension they have, their relationship as it develops. I really loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's one of my favorites of last year. I highly recommend it for the summer months. Then 2 that I own, but I don't have with me because my boyfriend is borrowing them. We have The Bone Shard Daughters, the first one, by Andrea Stewart. And I really liked this book. It was like a 4-star for me. And this one, instead of the hot setting of Jasmine Throne, this one has like a watery setting, because this series is called The Drowning Islands or The Drowning Empire or something. And basically there are all these islands, and one of the bigger macro plot world conflicts that you have in the series is the islands are sinking. But that's really more of a backdrop for this first book. I have not yet read the second book, but that is out, so you could read 2/3 of this trilogy and be in time for next year when the third book, The Bone Shard War, comes out. But The Bone Shard Daughter, pretty much we have a couple different perspectives. One of them is the daughter of this emperor of this whole island's nation, and she has lost her memory due to a sickness, so she has to earn back that in order to earn her place as the one-day empress, I guess, of the place. So there's a lot about her magic and her world that her father is keeping from her, and he will only tell her once she proves that she kind of remembers who she is. And so that's one plot, but the plot that's really more of a seafaring plot is we have a plot with a man who kind of stumbles into being a hero. He begins smuggling children away from bad situations, and he has this like little otter thing as a sea pet, basically, and that's The Bone Shard Daughter, and it is very much taking place at sea for a part of the book, so that's why I chose that for a watery setting. And then a book that seems to have both hot and watery settings, we have Black Sun by Roanhorse. This is like a pre-Columbian America inspired setting, so like central Southern America, and they're kind of right on the water, so I'm getting hot setting and water vibes from it. And there's a part of this series that is taking place on the sea. So Black Sun, very much recommended. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's basically several perspectives coming together, and there is kind of this like spiritual / religious force that has now re-entered the world and is maybe going to change the world for better or worse. And we see that force's perspective, and we also see a couple other people's perspective who are either preparing for him or are helping him, or all types of things. So I really love Black Sun. I highly recommend it. And to some more cutesy type middle grade for a second, we have Tidesong. This is a graphic novel that I highly recommend. It is about a girl whose family has water magic and the ability to talk to the sea dragons, and she would like to learn that magic, but she's going too fast. Like, she thinks she can do too much. She's taken on too much, and she accidentally turns a dragon out of his dragon form and into boy form, and they have to figure out how to get him back to dragon form. I thought this was really sweet and really cute and perfect for a quick, fun summer months read. Then I have a contemporary, middle grade contemporary, King and the Dragonflies by Kacen Callendar. This is a middle grade about a young Black boy who is coming to terms with the fact that he's gay, but he's got other people in his life who maybe he doesn't think will be as accepting. He's also grieving the loss of his brother, and he is also dealing with a friend who also knows he's gay and who has an even worse situation with his home and family life. And so you kind of see him navigating all of these different situations. And as like a 12-year-old, it's a really refreshing story because of how you see from this perspective that is not usually seen in middle grade. And it's also just like a very short, concise book. Like, Kacen Callendar does not mince words. Like, it's very concise, concisely done, very well done. And it just explores the different ways that people can be unaccepting of being gay and the messages that society gives young boys. It was a great book. I really loved it. And it takes place in the bayou. So you have this sort of summery, hot setting to go along with all this tension with character development. Then some summer camp type books. I can't get away with this video without mentioning The Lightning Thief by Riordan. This was the book series that got me into reading when I was at the young age of 10 years old. And I mean, look at it. We got water. Percy has a lot to do with water. If you don't know already, I won't tell you. But he also goes to a summer camp for kids who find out that they are the children of gods, the Greek gods. And so he goes on this like road trip. So you get like a whole bunch of vibes in this, like summer vibes. You get like, yes, there's a summer camp, like you see Percy end the school year and then go to the summer camp. You see like the water vibes because of Percy's whole deal. And you get this like cross-country road trip quest thing, which I think is just so fun to read, like, and take. It's not a vacation for them because they are literally doing something so difficult and on a quest, but like for me, it's like a vacation. So I love The Lightning Thief, and the other books in the series are mostly in a similar vein, mostly summary books, so I recommend binging the series. There's also a TV show coming, and I highly recommend you read this book and this series before we get to that TV show. But another summer camp book that is definitely less loved, but is still kind of a booktube favorite I've seen, Amari and the Night Brothers. Love this book so much. This is less of like a watery type setting. Definitely it's not that kind of summer camp. It's not like an outdoorsy type of summer camp like Camp Half-Blood is. It's not like that hot like summer vibes, but this does take place in the summer, and it does have technically like a summer internship camp thing, and it's just so fun, such a fun middle grade. And if you read this summer, then you will be prepared for when the second book comes out, either at the end of August or the beginning of September, depending on where you are. I highly, highly recommend this book. It's about a young girl named Amari. That's her. Her brother is missing, and this organization camp that her brother went to and she was nominated for by her brother invites her to join them, and she joins thinking it will help her find her brother. And she's basically introduced to this whole world of magic, and it turns out that the powers that she has in order to be in this camp thing are powers that can be really dangerous for the world. So it has so many great middle grade tropes, just such a well done middle grade plot and character work that I highly recommend. This was so compelling. This was so fun. I love Amari, and I'm super anticipating the sequel. And then my final kind of watery or like setting-based book, although there's one that is kind of on the edge, is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira for my horror readers. This I picked because we are dealing with killer mermaids. We are on a ship. We are surrounded by them. Basically, this ship went out before this book started and was doing like a mockumentary, I think, maybe on mermaids, and they actually found them. And they killed everyone because they're murderous. And so this other crew goes out to figure out what happened once and for all. And the mermaids are hungry again. And so this whole book is like a very suspenseful horror type book. It's more like horror, sci-fi, fantasy, a mixture of all of those. And it's like too long to be thriller. Like, it's very thrilling, but it's not thriller pacing. And so definitely more of a suspense book. I highly recommend this. I loved this book when I read it. Such a fun horror book. Oh, so good. Just like the tension building. I talk about tension a lot in these summary books because I really think that's like a part of like a summer setting a lot of the times. But the tension built up in this book between characters and like in this situation where they're basically trapped and like sitting ducks. It is so good. I highly recommend that. Then for my fun and action-packed adventures books, this one is sort of in the vein of Into the Drowning Deep. I think that if you like this book, then you will like Into the Drowning Deep and vice versa. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This is the book that the movie Jurassic Park is based off of. I'm obsessed with both. This one, it has a really good setting because it is in like this Costa Rican island setting, and it's like they're going on a trip there. Our main characters are going on a trip there, and they find there's a bunch of dinosaurs on this island that have been bred there, and basically people who made them, who revived them, want to make a theme park for them, and all these people are just like all these paleontologists they brought in are just like, I don't know about this. And the people at the park are just like, it'll be fine, go on a tour. And then, of course, because it has to, everything goes wrong. I loved this book, and it takes like a very good like half part of this book really getting to know the setting of this island. And so you really do get to kind of vacation on this island that is very dangerous, so similar to Percy Jackson, and really get to know the setting. And then we start having fun, action-packed adventure stuff in the second half. And so that's going to lead me into my second category, fun and action-packed adventurous books, or just books that you could read on like a beach or that you could read in a couple of sittings. My next one is His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. I read this in like 2 days maybe. I loved this book. It's a very cute historical fantasy that takes place in the Napoleonic Wars, but what if there were dragons? And we basically have this like British Navy men who finds this dragon egg, and they're bringing the dragon egg into Britain, but it hatches and the dragon imprints on our Navy main character. And so he becomes a dragon rider. He finds himself sort of thrust into this life, and he has the cutest relationship ever with Temeraire, his dragon. And it's just so cute. So sweet. It's just like there's war stuff in it, so there's that action adventure part, but it's also just so cute and fun. So like I could totally see, like I read this last summer as well, so maybe that's my association with it as well. But it was just such a fun, quick summer read that I was just like, yes, I love Temeraire so much. My next one I did not read during the summer, but I still think it could be good for summer, is The Space Between Worlds. And I'm pretty sure this does have, I pictured this as having like a hot setting, but I'm pretty sure it is like alternate America type thing, like it's our alternate Earth, but it's really nothing like our Earth at all. But what's really big about this is it's a little longer than the others, but it is very action-packed and fast-paced, and there's tons of character tension. There's tons of like action non-stop. Like you're not ever sure where this book is gonna go, in my opinion. I loved this book. I was on the edge of my seat. We basically follow a woman named Kara who in her world, there's basically this ability that people have to travel to other universes as long as they are dead in those universes. And so Kara is dead in a lot of them. And so she has been traveling for the agency to different universes and basically like recording what is there. And she loves it, but there's some conspiracies and things under afoot. And Kara kind of gets wrapped in the middle of it. I thought that this is definitely not like a light, easy read, like unlike Temeraire or something, but it is very action-packed and gripping. Like I was so interested, and it's not as like dark as this cover kind of makes it look at all. It's more fun. That's all I want to say about it. But I love The Space Between Worlds. It's definitely going to be a favorite of the year, so had to include it. And the last one is less action-packed, but it's more fun. It's more action-packed in terms of a romance type way, because it is a romance book. It's a YA romance book that I love, and it's more like YA contemporary romance blend. And I know that a lot of people tend to read contemporaries because they're fluffy and sweet and easy in the summer, and I highly recommend this one. Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzales. This one is about a bisexual main character, so obviously I was interested right there. I don't read very many YA contemporaries, but I saw this at my first placement, my first student teaching placement, and I got it from the library even though I had no time to read, and I fit it in because I loved it. And I wasn't sold for the first 50 pages. We have this bisexual main character who is giving relationship advice, like anonymously, out of her locker, or a locker, not her locker. And this guy kind of walks up on her when she's getting her letters out of the locker, and he's like, I need your help. And he basically enlists her to help him get his ex-girlfriend back. And they have some clear misunderstandings at first, but to me, everything feels very authentic for that. And we have a lot of conversations about relationships, what makes a good relationship, what kind of state you need to be in to be having a relationship. There's tons of conversations about that in this book, and I just loved this book. I thought the characters were great. They were first a little bit too teen for me. I was like, oh my god, well, who are these people? But I eventually loved them and just was really invested in their relationship. I mean, they also come with their own sets of baggage, which was interesting to read about. Like, our main character has this crush on her best friend that is going nowhere, very obviously to everyone but her. And then we have a main character, or not a love interest, who has this kind of, he's been in what clearly seems to be not the healthiest relationship before, and this girlfriend he's trying to get back is like, do you really want that relationship back? He has an attachment type. I believe it's like an insecure, he has like an insecure attachment type, basically. Avoidant attachment type. That's what it is. And so he finds it hard sometimes to be in a relationship that is not that healthy. And so you just see these two characters come together and just have such understanding and adoration for one another, and I absolutely loved it. So I highly recommend this if you are into romance and if you want some cute like YA contemporary romance action. Then I have my late summer / gothic dread portion of this video. And so I have 4 books to talk about. Only 3 of them are like actually like gothic dread. And the first one is a series that doesn't take place all throughout the summer, but definitely parts of it are in it. And I definitely feel that like dread of school in this, because like I'm pretty sure book 3 there is that dread of school. But The Raven Boys by Maggie Steifvater. At least the first 2 books are pretty summery, and they're also low-key creepy. Like they feel literally like driving down a Virginia country road. I would know, I live in Virginia on a country road. And like getting lost and finding things that you didn't even know you needed. Like that is what the vibe of this book is. Like an August hot day with your friends or alone, finding something you didn't know you needed in the middle of nowhere. And that's kind of what this book is about. It's about a group of friends who are trying to find this sleeping Welsh king. But that's really all you need to know about the plot, because this is more of a character-focused book. I absolutely loved this series. I haven't read it in several years now, probably like 3 years now, but when I reread it, I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorites. It's still one of my favorite YA series. I would consider it that. And I loved our main group. I just love the vibes of this book. This is such a vibey, small town, creepy, low YA fantasy type book with very like lush sort of writing. I loved it. I highly, highly, highly recommend you read The Raven Cycle this summer. Then I have another so it's a kind of a dark fantasy book. It's not horror, I would say, but it's definitely dark fantasy, and the dread is definitely present in this. I don't know if it takes place in the summer, but there's one picture in my mind of this like little fairy circle with very green grass and like kids running around in the summertime when they don't have school. So I think it's the summer. And that is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. So this is a low fantasy that I just think is absolutely genius. It was my favorite book for a while. It might still be at least one of them. But we basically have a man who is he's returning back to his childhood home for a funeral, and he starts remembering. And this is what he remembers. It is like childhood, but dread of growing up, just like, but also that feeling when you're a child and you feel like someone who is very like someone around you may not be safe, and you kind of have to deal with it. That's kind of what this book is dealing with. Like if you're a child and someone around you is not safe for you or your family, like what do you do? But it's like in a magical way. It's literally about some of the horrors that children sort of go through and they may like forget as they grow up. It's just a wonderful, wonderful book. I highly, highly, highly recommend this. It also has water. There's an ocean in it, a little pond. So summary for me. And this one I didn't know whether I wanted to do this one for summer or fall, but I think I'm gonna do summer because I'm pretty sure the end of summer is when this takes place, because we have our villain is like a personification of summer, I believe. Anyways, that book is Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh, and by extension the whole Green Hollow duology, although I think this first one is more summer vibes. This is definitely late end of summer vibes, and the reason I say that is because I'm pretty sure we're about to have like the solstice or whatever, and so when that comes, like the summer spirit is going to come and cause havoc. It's 100 pages, so that plot is not the biggest part of this. The biggest part of this is Tobias dealing with that impending threat as he has just met this man who has moved on his property, like the property that Tobias as this green man lives. And they have a relationship, but now that this man has moved in and he's meddling, like this summer spirit is probably gonna come and cause trouble. And it's just a beautiful, wonderful novella, atmospheric, although I've heard some people say it's not as atmospheric as they wanted, but I thought it was good because it was just atmospheric enough with still plain and accessible writing. I read this in a day, and then I read the sequel the next day. They're so short, they're so wonderful, so beautiful. I highly recommend this for your end of summer vibes. And then this last one is it's end of summer as well, but it's not dread. I just didn't have anywhere else to put it because it very much is late summer, but it's almost like late summer coming to peace with change, okay? That's what this book is. Tea Dragon Festival by Kay O'Neill. I don't usually put sequels in this because I didn't for any other of my spring books, and the first one of these was a spring book, but I figured this series could be the exception because I really think there is a time to read these. And you may think it's fall because of the fall leaves. I say cusp of fall, end of summer, cusp of fall, because it just has that vibe to me. Like it has a vibe of running around in the summertime before things start getting super fall-like. Yeah, there's not a lot of fall imagery in this book. It's more the next one, so I don't know why there's leaves, but literally just running around in a summer forest and running into the spirits is the vibe of this book, and I highly recommend it. This book is so sweet. I mean, we have like a non-binary protagonist. We have different creatures, the cutest writing style ever. I loved this book. It's my favorite of the Tea Dragon books, actually, so this is the one I would recommend more than anything. This is actually a prequel, so you don't have to pick up the first one to pick this one up. This could really just stand on its own. And then the other two, the first and the third one, are more like a complete story together, and this is different, but I still highly recommend all of them, and this is the one that I would recommend for the summer. Or you could just binge them all in whatever season I tell you to. That is all for my summer recommendations. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.